All right. Well, we got the car wash pretty much done for now. Got a few things to finish up on it, and then we'll be. I'm just waiting for some parts right now. So in the meantime, we're going to get started on this. This is a Pine Canyon scale model. They are unfortunately not in production anymore. Makes some pretty nice kits. I did did some videos a couple months ago on doing the diners and the gas stations and the motel for my buddy Jim. And this is one of the kits that I received from him in exchange for doing that. Is the Canyon County Firehouse Station number 3, and it's a resin kit, uh, rather thick resin. I laid out a lot of the parts already. Got a few flat pieces here for the roof. Looks like some trim pieces. Got more stuff in the bags here, little bags of details, roof vents, and pile of doors, the windows, glass for the windows. Here's the wall panels. I got them already laid out on the glass, and they're warped, but that's nothing new with a resin kit. Pretty common. So we're going to soak those in some hot water and get them to soften up a bit, and then we're gonna get them flat again. Looks like I got like one wall. Yeah, pretty much one wall is good. The rest of them are all a little warped, but that's real common with resin kits, especially these poured resins that uh, from the smaller manufacturers like this. You even see it with some of the bigger manufacturers, a little bit of warpage, especially if they're an old kit, and you can see the warp there that I'm going to have to contend with. Yeah, we can't build this like it is, that's for sure. So we're definitely going to flatten these out. And we got the instructions over here. It's kind of like a magazine almost, pretty thick. I think there's like 40 pages of instructions. Now there's quite a few of them. I would say at least 20 pages. They do have nice, in color pictures on here of what things should look like and where you should be and how to build it. And one thing I found out with I find with the Pine Canyon build kits is they go together pretty well. You just have to be patient and follow the instructions to the letter on these. And also it helps if you get them to not be warped. So we will work on that and move on from there. All right. So what we're doing today is, before we can build these kits, we have to flatten them out because they are warped. Some of the buildings are warped a little worse than others. You can see that here. You can see that heavy warp in that wall. Real common for resin buildings like this, resin kits to warp. It can be fixed, and we're going to attempt to fix it. I was successful before. So what I'm going to do is, I got a big pot of water over there boiling. I got a piece of glass here. Nice flat piece of glass. The water's boiling. It's ready to go. So we're going to turn that off. Let that cool down just a little bit. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to soak the resin plastics in the water just enough to get them soft enough. to put them on the glass to flatten them out and get the curves out of them. Pretty common with resin kits. If you buy a resin kit and you see the walls are warped, don't freak out. Most of the time you can fix it. So I've done it before. Let's see how it works today. Okay, well, we got this first one was pretty badly warped. Soaked it into hot water. You want to make sure you take the pot off the burner, put it on a burner that's cold, so that it's not too hot on the bottom, because this stuff sits on the bottom of the pot and you got a hot burner underneath it, or you're just really boiling the crap out of your water. You could melt these a lot more than you want to. So this is the first one. This was pretty badly warped. Gave her a good soak, and it looks like I got most of it out. You can see just a little bit on the edge there. Let's dip that in there. You don't have to put it in that long. This stuff softens up pretty good, pretty quickly. So we're just gonna do that. You could use weights or whatever. I'm just using my hand right now. Just trying to get that. You gotta put a little force down. Remember that glass is flat, unless it's a curved glass, of course, but generally plate glass is about as flat as you can get. So this piece of glass here I got actually from Hobby Lobby on their clearance rack for like $3. You could also get an end table or something like that from the 80s, 70s, that has a heavy glass top, and use a piece of that. But you really want to use glass or something is absolutely flat. Let's see how we're coming on that one now. Yeah, I think that's about all I'm going to get out of it. It feels really flat on the bottom. So when I'm pushing down on it, I'm not getting any rocking on it so much. So that's it. That's about as straight as that one's going to get. All right. Now this piece is off one of the kits that my friend sent to me that he built, and it sat in his attic where he has his diorama display, and it's not climate controlled up there. He's in Missouri, and it's humid, and it gets hot in the summer, and up in that attic it got real hot, and it was hot enough to do that kind of warpage. That's a pretty heavy duty warpage on that piece there. So what I did with this building is I busted it apart, got it to break along the glue lines. I didn't have any glue dissolver or remover or anything, so basically I just cracked the glue. Usually this stuff's pretty thick too, so I didn't really worry about the pieces breaking so much as long as I had them well supported when I was bending it. At that point, ended up with a lot of debris on the top here. He had some supports glued in, so I removed all that. Got it basically scraped it chiseled most of it off, and then I sanded it down so it's nice and flat, because otherwise it won't sit flat here. So let's see what we're going to do with this. Let's throw it in the water, see what happens. Just going to let that sit there for a little bit. Okay, we got it out of the pot. Put it on the glass. It's already relaxed a little bit. It's not as bad as it was, so we're just going to hold it down. Take it to a little cooler spot on the glass here. I'm just going to hold down all four corners of my meat hook here. We're just going to hold it down. We're going to see what happens. Now I've read another company that did resin buildings. They don't do them anymore, but they actually would warn you when you bought the kits that the panels were prone to warping, and they suggested warming the oven up to 170 degrees and putting a piece of glass in there, and just letting it sit in there, and it would self adjust. Um, I'm going with what Pine Canyon recommended in their instructions, which is the company that made the kit, and they recommend using hot water. You know, get it to a boil and then take it off the fire. Get it off boil. You don't want it too hot, but you should have it at least up in the high 170s to around 200 degrees or so. You just let this thing sit. I know this is taking a little bit longer. It's almost like watching paint dry. Let's see how we're doing on this. Still got a little bit of rise there in the corner yet. How's it coming along? You still see just a little bit of warp yet. Just a little bit. So let's throw that back in. Let's get that heated up again. We're just going to heat that up one more time. I just want to get exact because, you know, if you have even a little bit of warp on these panels, when you go to glue, that little bit of warp can make a rather noticeable gap in your building, which really takes away any sort of realism that you're trying to achieve with your building. Let's grab this guy one more time here. See what it looks like here. Yeah, you can still see the warp in it, but she's warm. So let's try to pin that down. We're going to do that one more time, just like that. Now, I can feel the buildings. This piece is warmed up quite a bit. My fingers are getting a little warm, a little hot, but that's okay. I got cook hands, so I spent years burning my fingertips at work, so now I can pretty much grab almost anything. I'm just gonna hold that down. I can still hear it. I wonder if I can just maybe bend this down a little bit. I'm gonna try just to bend it down a little. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean it, but I should have turned the camera off. It looks like we're okay. I think you're a little tacky to here, but I think it's going to be fine. It looks like the warp is pretty much out of it. All right, I'm going to go on and do the rest. All right, we got the last of the panels out of the water. I'm just using some pitchers to hold it down so when it cools it stays flat. Yeah, pretty good, pretty successful. Managed to flatten out all the panels, even some of these ones that were really severely warped. I managed to get most of the warpage out. I think they'll work just fine now. But yep, these panels here were pretty badly warped. They're nice and flat now. I'm just gonna let them sit here and dry off and cool, and then we'll be able to start working on them. So if you got warped panels, try a little hot water. Get the water up to boiling. Take the pot of water off the heat, and then let your pieces soak in there for a while. It just doesn't take long, maybe about a minute or so, and then just put them on a piece of glass or whatever the flattest surface you have, and weight them down a little bit and let them cool, and they should cool back into a position where they should be fairly flat. So success. It's always good to have that. So next step, we're going to get the building